Welcome to Brandstorm, the podcast that talks to the people behind America's brands. I'm Dan Trzynski, president of Platypus Advertising and Design.
And I'm Nancy Christopher, PR director at Platypus. Dan, I met today's guest at this year's Wisconsin Governor's Conference on Tourism, and I was really intrigued by her story. She was just 6 years old when the Amish began moving to her hometown of Cashton, Wisconsin, and today it's home to the largest population of Amish in the state. Please welcome Kathy Kuderer, owner and manager of Down a Country Road Gift Shop and Tour Service. It's nice to have you with us, Kathy.
Thank you, Dan and Nancy. I'm glad to be here with you today to tell you a little bit about my business, myself, and my experience of working with the Amish.
Yeah, so tell us about your company.
The name of my business pretty accurately describes where we're at, Down a Country Road in the heart of Wisconsin's Amish community. We have a village of 6 gift shops on our farm, and we work with about 45 different Amish families and then also other local crafters who bring products to the gift shops. I also provide a tour service of the Amish community.
So when did it dawn on you that you could take the knowledge and friendships that you made with the Amish and start a business?
Well, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, I was about 6 years old when the Amish moved in just down the road from where I grew up. So I guess I became somewhat familiar with their customs and traditions while growing up. But it was really after my husband and I married 40 years ago and we moved to the small farm that we live on today that I really started to take an interest in the Amish people themselves. In 1983, when our second child was born, I was in the hospital with an Amish neighbor lady whose baby was stillborn. And through that experience, we became very close friends with several Amish people, and especially an elderly couple. And they became like grandparents to my husband and myself, and ultimately our family.
So were your shops actually built by the Amish? You said you had 6 shops?
4 of the 6 were built by the Amish. And one of them was originally built here on the farm in 1905. One of the gift shops was also built by one of our sons.
So did they come to you, Kathy, and say, could you sell our things that we make?
Well, I don't know that they necessarily came to me. I think it was a collaboration effort. I was at a point in my life where I needed a career change, and that was a pretty young point in my life. But prior to me starting this business, I was selling home interiors and gifts, which was a home party plan business. And I was gone 3 or 4 evenings a week. When our youngest child at the time started school full time, I knew that I needed to be home in the evenings. And so I knew that I needed to look for a full-time, daytime job. And there was a bit of a problem with that, though, because we live out in the country in a very rural community, and there was no employment nearby. So it meant that I would need to drive 25 or 30 miles, and I would need to find daycare. And that also seemed to be a challenge because our oldest was 13 and our youngest was 6. And they were a little bit too old to go to a babysitter, but they were a little bit too young to be left home alone out in the country.
Yeah, I can understand that. So what kind of wares did the Amish say they could make that you could sell?
Well, as they encouraged me to start this little gift shop, they came up with many different products that they could supply my gift shop with. And that would be things like rugs and quilts and home woven baskets, homemade candies, things like that.
Anything in the furniture
Yes.
area?
We started working with several furniture makers who were able to provide us with things like tables and chairs, rocking chairs, end tables, coffee tables, hutches, that sort of thing.
I find it interesting that you've also mixed traditional retail, a gift shop, with tourism. You know, that's kind of an interesting marketing angle. So you do some tours too, correct?
I do.
Tell us a little bit about how that came to be.
Well, I guess because I knew so much about the history, traditions, and customs of my Amish friends, I felt that there might be a need out there to share that information with other folks that had lots of curiosities about the Amish.
So I'm curious, Kathy, when you say the Amish wanted you to sell their wares because they really don't like to interface with the general public, and yet you would take tours into their communities, show their homes to other people, do they feel funny about that at first?
Well, I spent about 6 months prior to doing the tours before starting the business, going out and visiting with Amish families to make sure that they were okay with this. There are about 300 Amish families in our community, and I wouldn't pretend to know all of them, but I do know a great deal of the families, and I had established some very strong friendships. And so I went to those families and explained to them what I was thinking of doing. And I wanted to do it in a very unintrusive way. I would ride with customers in their vehicle, so there would never be a tour vehicle or tour van per se driving around the Amish community. And most of the families where I would be stopping on actually did have some things for sale. So it wasn't necessarily just stopping and touring their home.
When you live in a rural area like Cashton, how do you get the word out that you're selling Amish wear?
Well, I think that was one of my biggest challenges to start with because, of course, in those days, there was no social media. I didn't have a website. I had to rely on some local media, and I went after that. We had a lot of local newspapers that were able to pick up a story for us and kind of spread the word. We had a brochure created, and we went to all of the hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts in the area and really let people know what we were proposing to do. And many of them were very excited to have something for their tourists to do that was very different, unusual, and could satisfy that curiosity about the Amish.
So which part of the business do you like the most, the tourism part or the retail part?
Oh my gosh, you're asking me a loaded question there. Both parts of the business, I guess I enjoy meeting people from all over the world.
So you say you started back in the 90s. You didn't have a website. There wasn't an internet. You went out and
Took brochures out to...
scattered them around the community. What's changed the most for you over the years? And what challenges do you face now as you're about to celebrate your 25 years in business?
Well, a lot has changed. We started in 1994 with our first little gift shop, and going from having just a few tourists stop in now and then to the 6 gift shops that we have today. And now we have probably close to 20,000 visitors every year between May and October. I've given over 2,500 tours to people from all over the world. For our family, it's changed a lot. Our kids were, 6, 11, and 13 when we started. They're now 31, 37, and we also have a 22-year-old that came along a couple of years after we started the business, along with 4 grandchildren.
Do they all participate in the business themselves?
They all have been involved in the business at some point in their life. Now they're kind of all left the nest, so I don't have too much involvement from the kids. But when we have special events, of course, they're all here.
Is there a change in the newer generation of Amish people from a cultural standpoint where they are willing to sell goods directly? Do you feel that's going to be some competition for you?
Yes, I believe that has probably changed the dynamics of our business over the years. The younger generation are more open to having the local general public come in and buying furniture directly from them. However, I still think that we have a strong place in the market. There are a lot of folks that just don't want to have that interaction, or they want to have someone making those contacts for them, including, we have a phone, they don't. So if someone wants to make a contact, finding out what the status is of their furniture, I can provide that. If they go directly to the Amish, then they have to rely on good old-fashioned snail mail or driving out.
I would think, too, if the younger generation of Amish folk become more public and directly sell their goods, that it takes a little bit of the mystique out of wanting to know about the Amish. And what's different?
A little bit, but I would still say that we have a very strong number of people that don't really want to go out directly to the Amish. They may want to pick up some Amish-made goods and not, spend that time going out and interacting with the Amish. Now, contrary to what a lot of people believe, even though the Amish do sell from their farms, there are really only a very, very small percentage of families that do sell directly. We have about 300 Amish families here in the community, and I would guess maybe not even a quarter sell to the general public.
Do you sell anything online, any e-commerce?
We do have an online store presence. We don't have a lot of products on there because our products change pretty frequently. We do have some staples that we sell a lot, jams, jellies, the homemade candies, things like that.
Yeah, we have a national audience, so I'm sure people that aren't necessarily going to be able to either find Cashton or get up there. I just wanted to give them an opportunity to find out. So can you give us a website? We'll put it in our show notes too, but do you have a website that you can direct people to?
Sure. It's just downacountryroad.com.
Awesome.
And what are some of the perennial favorites that everybody loves to buy?
Well, one of the most popular items that we sell is the homemade cashew crunch. Buttery, delicious cashew candy that will melt in your mouth. Number 1 seller.
I have to remind myself not to do this before lunch, when you're starving.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So, Kathy, when you went to the tourism conference, did you learn anything to help kind of jumpstart your business again? Considering that you're facing some of these challenges with the Amish becoming more public.
Well, I think I'm in a very unique business to start with, so there's not a lot of people out there dealing with the Amish. But I did take a lot of comments away from the Governor's Conference on Tourism, which had a lot to do with marketing your business. And I think probably the thing that struck me the most was just getting out there, presenting your business, in the best light that you can, trying to go after the media as much as you can. So again, I appreciate being on your show today.
Again, and it's back to the basics, right? You had to hit the streets when you were younger, and you have to still do it.
You do. You never can stop with that process.
One of the things we talked about a lot was experiences at the tourism conference. Are you thinking of adding more Amish experiences?
Well, we are always striving to add something new to our business, whether it be additional inventory in our gift shops, new gardens at the farm, new baby animals on the farm for our guests to check out, but also going out into the Amish community. I'm always looking for new and different families to visit on the tours, everything from showing off their ice house to showing other parts of their farm, or experiences with quilting and baking and things like that. So every tour is different. Every family that I work with has a different level of comfort as far as what they're willing to share. So we're always working on that process.
So if I was going to take a tour, what's the best way to connect with you? If I was just going to drive up to Cashton, do I just come knock on your door, or do we schedule it ahead of time? What do we do?
Well, all of the tours are scheduled by reservation. So the very best way to do that is to give me a call at 608-654-5318. That's our business and home phone number. So you can catch me just about anytime. And we would schedule that tour. I normally do the tours at 10 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and not every day. So again, it is by reservation. If someone just pops in, very unlikely that that's going to happen.
Okay. And give me some coordinates of Cashton in relationship to a bigger city.
We are about 30 miles east of Cashton. I'm sorry, about 30 miles.
That didn't help.
We are about 30 miles east of LaCrosse, or about 20 miles south of Interstate 90 from Sparta.
I still don't know where she is.
It's southwestern Wisconsin. So your biggest city to fly into would be Madison or Minneapolis, Rochester. You're kind of in the middle of all of that.
Regional airport in LaCrosse.
In LaCrosse, all right.
Any plans for the 25th anniversary?
Well, our actual anniversary is next May. This is our 25th season for our 25th year. No definite plans yet, but I'm sure that we'll do something that will involve the public.
Well, we'll look forward to that. Thanks so much, Kathy. Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed being on your show.
Thank you. And if you like what you've heard, please don't forget to share, review, and subscribe to Brandstorm. Alexa owners, you can simply say, Alexa, play the Brandstorm podcast.
This is Dan Trzynski along with Nancy Christopher at Platypus Advertising and Design, an awesome company that creates perceptions that influence choice for a variety of regional, national, and global brands on a daily basis. We hope you'll join us next week for another episode of Brandstorm.